Good morning. Today at the Undercover Policing Inquiry, we have Julian McKinney, former Detective Chief Inspector of the Special Demonstration Squad from 2005 until the unit ended.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm joined by Donald Driscoll from the Undercover Research Group. I got to be honest, this is not an officer I know that much about. He hasn't been mentioned a great deal by any of the other witnesses. I guess it was towards the end, and there was, we haven't had that many other officers that were around him at the time giving evidence.
The main one for his era would be Harrison.
Yes.
So, yes, there's a lot of like HN30, HN72, the managers of the time who inquire on give live evidence, but are clearly very important, but would have a lot to say. And what's interesting about McKinney, part of the reason we haven't heard from much of him is he's an outsider. He's not from within Special Branch itself. He's part of the new broom that comes in when Special Branch gets merged in with Anti-Terrorism Branch to produce Counter-Terrorism Command, SO15. So, I think today, watch out for the numbers SO12, which is Special Branch, SO13, which is Anti-Terrorism, and SO15, which is the combined Counter-Terrorism Command. And we'll hear a lot of jargon today.
Yeah, I mean, I know he went on to be head of covert operations for the Met at some later date. He clearly is, though he wasn't a Special Branch man most of his career, he's very much in that covert world.
Yeah, and there's another name that's associated with him, which is Frankie Flood, who was the head of the SDS, who worked very closely with McKinney. And like one of the complaints is that Frankie Flood was more with McKinney and doing national undercover work rather than being with the SDS, which he left to HN72. So normally we don't hear that much from the superintendents like McKinney, but he filled in for where Flood is not, because he's dead. It's no longer able to offer. But Flood is brought in as an outside expert. Comes from SO10. He was basically designed the training course. So he comes into the SDS. Oh yeah, we could resolve all the issues here. SDS goes, no, we like our corruption a bit too much. McKinney is there supporting Flood, saying, no, this has to modernize.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of mentions of Flood. I mean, it seems to divide opinion. There are a lot of critics that we've heard of him, and also those who claim that he was the best undercover manager in the Met. I guess in a similar way, he's going to be a polarizing figure in the eyes of some of the undercover police.
Well, I think this is going to be very true. I think we've heard quite a lot about how Special Branch was this family.
Yeah.
And this is how, family in the same way the mafia are a family. And the Code of Omerta, the golden rule is thou shalt not talk about, the golden rule in the inquiry of you shall not breach operational security is classic mafia omerta. Let's put it in this proper context. He's not part of the family. They don't see him as part of the family. They're really, really suspicious about the merger in 2005, 2006, partly because it's very clear us in the Metropolitan Police going, so what value do you bring? And they're suddenly not able, they're going, oh, but we're Special Branch. We've always brought lots of value. Our existence is value. And everybody else is going, well, you need to do a bit more than your existence. And so they come in with experience of undercover policing elsewhere, having helped design and create the courses. And they're going, what is this? And it's also in the wake, although John Williams was an absolutely awful witness, it's in the period where the corruption has got so bad, the welfare issues have got so bad, it's all starting to leak out, and they realise they can't keep a lid on it. So it's reform or die.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just on Janet Williams yesterday, there were a lot of breaches yesterday, which I know people who are following got very frustrated with. If you are following on the YouTube feed, if there is a breach, then it feels like they do it on purpose. There were a couple of things that she said, which would have been great clips, which would have been really useful for us to be able to promote. But then she managed to drop in some sort of breach not long afterwards, which meant that we lost, 15 minutes before she said it, 15 minutes after she said it. And they're doing this on purpose. We hope Julian McKinney won't do this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
Well, word on the street is that, he's a bit more of a straight shooter. But it's really clear, and I've noticed over the last few days with Williams, Finesse, it's like they've all got new lawyers, and they're all have got a new set of tactics, and very much. I haven't got an answer to give you right now, so I'm going to debate who wrote that.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about, although in terms of sheer obnoxiousness, few have matched Williams' attitude towards the barrister, and the way she pulled rank.
Yeah,
and it was just, I somewhat disrespectful, but just like evading questions. She was just outside disrespectful.
Yes, yeah. I mean, asking the chair if she had to answer a hypothetical question. I mean, we haven't seen that before. It was quite remarkable that the chair backed the witness over the counsel. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't, like, it's not a conducive working environment for anybody. That.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he necessarily backed the witness, because what he said was he dodged around it.
Yeah.
He didn't support counsel. He didn't say you can't use hypotheticals. But it was definitely a moment of, it seemed weak on his part, because she'd been so evasive.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope that Julian McKinney isn't going to be as evasive. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think this is it's like this. The train, we've been watching the train crash. This is we are now in the period where the train finally actually crashes. Where the SDF, after 50 years of being the jewel in the crown, the elite of the elite, finally hits. It runs out the state. I'm sorry, mixing metaphors. Actually, just crashes
out the track.
Crashes into the wall, and people, it's going to come crashing down. For me, it's one of the most fascinating stories, because for all we've heard from all the officers, how great they're doing, it goes out with a fizzle, embarrassment, and even within the Metropolitan Police, it's like, oh, this is the youth that have lost its moral compass. It's the end of their era of corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. Tune in if you can. I've shared the link on YouTube below. Check it out. I'll be doing videos during the breaks and all throughout the day. Tune in to those if you can as well. Thanks to everybody.